And welcome to Witch Hat Chats. Come on in and sit for a spell. We're sponsored by Evermoving We Rise, Moonlight Potions and Charms, and Saul Ravencraft, Wizard for Hire. I am your goddess host, Miss Nikki Kirby, and our co-host, Saul Ravencraft. He is somewhere around here because, according to his Facebook page, he has been spit out by the Sherwood Forest. I mean, the forest literally spit him out.
I'm like a living hairball. That's me.
I bet that hurt. You got splinters yet?
Pain is part of the path.
Hey, Saul, is that the doorbell I hear?
Why, look, Nikki, it's our sister, the Voodoo Priestess, author and anthropologist, Lilith Dorsey.
Hello.
Hey, Lilith.
Hi. How are you doing?
We're awesome. How are you, hon?
I'm hanging in there by my fingernails.
Awesome. Awesome. Come on in and sit for a spell.
I will. I'm excited.
Oh, goody. So we're actually going to do something today. Yay. And you're just in time for our divination. Ooh.
Ooh, exciting.
Ooh. So, Saul, do you want to know what our divination is for today?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I think you'll like this one. It actually goes with that new horror flick, the one called The Elevator Game. Have you heard about that one?
I have not yet. I'm eager to know.
Okay. So it states, and this is from Sam Levinson. He was an American humorist and writer. And he says, and I quote, "If you die in an elevator, be sure to push the up button." I think he wants to make sure you go to heaven. But what goes up has to come down. So technically, if you die and you're going up, your body's going to come back down. So because you're going to have to go to the morgue, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if your spirit isn't released yet, technically, if the Reaper isn't there and they haven't released your body, then your spirits want to go down with your body down to the morgue, correct?
They
Makes
always
sense to
go
me.
down to the.
Yeah. So what's the point of going up? I mean, it's like we're going to go to hell any damn way. So you might as well enjoy the ride, right?
Up, down, up, down.
That's a sexual position.
That's why I said that. You said I didn't have to watch what I was saying, so I.
Okay, Lilith, you have been watching too much of 50 Shades of Grey, okay?
No, I don't think so. I don't. I had it. Somebody gave it to me. And and then copies kept showing up. I've read bits and pieces, but I've never read it. It's not my kink, as they say. I was talking to somebody else the other day about about how the writing in it was so bad. And I think they self-published that initially. I think they sold that out of their trunk in like parking lots of the Blockbuster Video. That's what I heard. So, yeah.
Well, there's a new horror movie called The Elevator Game, and I've just recently heard about this. This is like a kids game where they got instructions online, and you have to go to so many different floors, and then you have to stop at a mid floor afterwards, and it's supposed to be like a portal to hell.
Okay.
And it's like, really? They had that on what was that show? Evil. That show Evil that's on CBS. That was the first time I heard about it. And they've actually made a movie about it.
Wow.
I'm like, the things these kids come up with.
Sure. I mean, it makes
You know,
sense though. In between floors, you're in that liminal in between magical space where anything can happen. And I think elevators are a little scary anyway. You know, my best friend has an artist loft, and it's one of those old elevators, and you've got to pull the chain. And like, I'm like, this is the creepiest thing ever, you know?
well, it's creepy if you get stuck in one.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And having to get out of it is really, really even more creepier. Yeah. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially if it starts to fall. I can understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Oh, and they'll make a horror movie about anything these days. You know that. They're just like, oh, look, my toilet's scary. Eek, you know.
Hey, I don't mean to interrupt here, Nikki, but I heard the Moonlight Potions and Charms. Ah, I can't talk. What a dumbass. I hear you're up to something. What's going on?
Well, you're right. We are up to something. We're always up to something. I mean, it is, after all, Moonlight Potions and Charms, because we are charming. So, just to let you guys know right quick, Moonlight Potions and Charms, we have what is called NPC parties. And so, our NPC, actually, it's called NPC Magic Parties. So, if you want to host one, you actually won't have to go to our website, www.mpcmagic.com. And what they are is you basically invite a bunch of your friends over, because you can do them either live or you can do them by computer. What do they call them now? I've just left my mind. Virtual. There we go. Virtual. And you get in touch with me. We have several themes that we can be able to do them. One of our themes is called 50 Shades of Sexual Enchantment. Woo! We can be able to do that. And we got Liquid Luck Allures. We have Dark Moon Rising. And we have Raising the Spirits. And so much more. So you pick a theme, basically. You get all your friends together, and we have a party. You get to learn about what we get to offer you, and we have some fun. We have prizes. You get a special gift from me, of course. Your friends help you be able to purchase what's on your wish list, and they get a special consultation from me to help them with their purchases. And on top of that, you get to do it again. So all you got to do is just go to our website. Like I said, it's mpcmagic.com. And with the virtual is even better, because you get to have your social media friends too. The bigger the party, the more products and the more free stuff you get to get. How's that sound? Hmm? Sounds great, doesn't it? Free
Oh
stuff,
yeah, everybody needs some.
right?
I like
You
Right?
free
bet.
stuff.
So just come on down and sign in. And like I said, all you got to do is just fill out the form, book it, book it, book it, book it, and we'll do it for you. And like I said, the great thing is if you're not around us and we can't get to you, it's called virtual. Awesome, right? All right. So now we got Miss Lilith, and she's got a new book out. So tell us, what is this new fascinating book that's not voodoo?
No, no, not at all. This is sort of the tarot book I always wanted to write. I've been reading tarot for like 40 years now, I guess. Yeah, a little bit longer, actually, than 40 years. So I always wanted to write a tarot book, and this is it. It's called Tarot Every Which Way. So it doesn't matter what kind of witch you are. You could be a kitchen witch. There's recipes in there for you. You could be a dirt witch or a green witch, and there's plants to plant in your garden. There's spells and potions, and the history of tarot too. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
So tell me, what is so special? Well, first of all, tell me what the title is.
Tarot Every Which Way. WITCH. So, depending on what kind of witch you are, you can use that in conjunction with your tarot practice.
Nice, nice. So what makes this book different from all the other tarot books?
I mean, you'll find the basic information there, but this is really about exploring every single person's unique connection to the tarot. So maybe I like crystals, and I go in and I find out I can use these crystals for this card, and I can set up a grid in my room to make my magic and myself more powerful and my readings better. So things like that, like accessing tarot however you want to. You can pick and choose. You can take all the info, or you can take none of the info and just, look at the advice that I have. The other thing that I think is great is there's a lot of advice from other readers and other professionals in there. There's stuff from Matt Oren, there's stuff from Deborah Lipp, there's stuff from Courtney Alexander, people who have really been leaders of the witchcraft community for so long and innovators. And I wanted to know, what do they think about tarot? What do they think about choosing a deck? What do they think about reversals? And all of that's in the book too.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. It was good. It was fun making all the recipes. It was fun cooking everything up, I think everybody's got to eat, right? But they forget about there really is a magic with a K, as you say, Nikki, that happens in the kitchen. And I like to just explore that and make it fun.
The thing about magic is fun. Okay. It's not just everybody's like, it's got to be dead serious, and you got to put that broomstick up your butt. No. Okay. Magic comes from the imagination. It comes from the little witch inside of you. That's where magic comes from. And you've got to have your sense of humor in it, because 9 times out of 10 things are not going to come out the way that you totally imagine that it's going to come out. Okay. And they're going to surprise you. It's going to surprise the hell out of you. It's just like, with my love spell, it just shocked me, the way that it came out. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting.
That's great.
This is interesting. When I cast it, I didn't imagine the way it came out, but it was beautiful and it was fantastic. And the way some of my products have been able to help people and the feedback that I have received, it was like, ooh, okay. I mean, I have this one candle that's called Grief and Healing, and it's my most popular candle. It's even more popular than Papa Lip. And what they have told me, I didn't imagine it would be that popular. I really didn't, but it's outselling and people really, truly do love it. So with the tarot book, so with this book, what is your favorite part of the book?
I think it has to be the tarot gardens because I'm a big plant person, and there's so many different herbs and plants and flowers that are associated with the tarot. So in it, I talk about making it, even if you don't have a garden, making a window box, making a flower pot that has some of these plants that are connected to the cards, and using that in your readings. If they're edible plants, using that in the kitchen. If you make potions and things like that, putting it in a magical formula for a bath, or a magical formula for an oil or a floor wash. And that way you're not just having a card sitting there with you on this, two-dimensional thing that you're looking at. You're having the tarot card all around you, and getting out there and planting things. I think we've learned, right, that it's so healthy for depression. It's so healthy for, everybody to really be able to connect with the earth. And a lot of witches, I think, resonate with that, and that really vibes with them. So going out and planting a rose for the High Priestess card, or going out and planting some rosemary for the Devil card, so we can be protected from things that are negative in our life, or things that we're chained to and we don't want to be chained to. I think that's so important, because you're doing something, but it also gets you out of your head. You're not just sitting there thinking about, overthinking everything. You're going to get out there, you're going to buy a plant, you're going to buy some seeds, you're going to go out, you're going to plant it. So that's my favorite part.
Yeah, and it also helps you when you're doing spell work too, because you can be able to use the tarot and be able to put something together.
Sure.
Into a spell. And a lot of people are asking, how do you combine things in spellcraft? I'm like, well, number one, you got to do your research. You don't go asking everybody. You just go do your research, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what we had to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you have to figure it out. I mean, I think there's a lot of witches now that, and I'm not knocking intuition. Like if I get my spidey senses up and somebody tells me something in my head, like you said, the little witch, I will do that. But there's a lot of things, again, think of cooking. If I go in the kitchen and I don't understand the difference between salt and sugar, no one's going to want to eat what I'm cooking.
Right.
If I get those two mixed up, we're going to be in some serious trouble. So you have to understand what the ingredients are. You have to understand how it's going to work for you. And there's research, and then there's practice, because it's going to be different for everybody. Some people are going to be deathly allergic to peanuts. Some people are going to eat peanuts every day for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. So Saul, I know that you do a lot of tarot readings. Saul, we can't hear you, honey.
Yeah, I dabble a bit.
So what's your questions, honey?
Oh my goodness. I mean, you said that you wanted to write this book for a long time. What was it that you needed to get to before you were ready to make this book?
I think I had to write all my other books first. So that's the first thing. I mean, this is my 6th traditionally published book. So I think I had to get to a point where I was comfortable working with a publisher, comfortable writing, and really understanding everything on a deep level. You know, Saul, you're a reader. You know that some cards, when it comes up for some people, it's going to mean one thing. And some cards, when it comes up for different people, it's going to mean something else. So really understanding that in my head through working with it for 40 years, for being a professional reader for over 30 of those years, I really wanted to see how it does operate. Is this card mean something different for a young person, an old person, a trans person, you know, and understanding that and being able to share that with people.
How do you explain that? I mean, I can see where you would gain that through experience, but I'm assuming in your book you want to shortcut some of that for some people. So how do you get people into that mode when they're relatively new?
I think that it's like anything else. You know, you've got to understand the basics. You've got to understand the cards that you're working with, and that can be specific to the deck that you choose, or it could just be the generalized meetings that you get from the Rider-Waite-Smith or the Toth deck or something like that. I think you need a basic understanding of it. And then you work on your intuition, you work on your connection to the cards. I always recommend people sleep with their decks under their pillow, you know, especially if they're sleeping alone and nothing else is going on there, you know. So
I guess that's one way to charge a deck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a different way to charge a deck, but you want to strengthen your personal connection. You want to understand it. Give your deck a name, you know, understand how things are when it comes up in readings for you. I'm a big person for reading for myself, you know, even if it's just a daily draw or something. How is this day going to go? You know, Nikki was talking about love spells. I remember one time I drew the Two of Cups, which for me is almost always marriage. Like, and for some people it'll be like, oh, the love of their life finally proposes, yay, you know. But I got it once, and I originally a New Yorker, I was on the subway and somebody was there busking and panhandling and singing, and they got down on one knee and took my hand and proposed to me, and it was hilarious, right? Like the cards got jokes. It was still a wedding proposal, but it wasn't the one I was necessarily looking for. I didn't go home with the dude or anything like that, but you know, I understood it was going to manifest, but I left myself open to how it was going to manifest. And I think also trusting your intuition coupled with your experience is what you're developing, especially at the beginning.
Right.
I have a question for you, Saul. What's your favorite card?
I don't do favorites on anything.
Okay.
And that's honest, because it's all about context. Right? Sometimes I really want steak. Sometimes I really want pizza. Sometimes I really just want a banana.
No, he's more into tacos. He wants tacos.
Well, I'll always take a taco. So when it comes to cards, it's very much about what what's going on in the moment. I think all the cards are beautiful in their own context. Now, the deck that I favor the most is Robin Wood's tarot.
I loved Robin. Did you know Robin? She was wonderful.
No. I just saw her illustrations in Scott Cunningham's books, and I came across a deck at a metaphysical store in Austin that is now a parking garage. I wasn't looking for a tarot deck, but I was looking at tarot decks, and the first card I saw was her Magician. And he is confident, and he is virile. You know, he's got a six-pack under that robe.
Yes.
Not anemic at all. The Rider-Waite-Smith, love the Rider-Waite-Smith, but you know, it's kind of like as above, so below. And this guy he's working it. And then I think the second card I saw was Judgment. And her approach to judgment is just so amazing. And then I saw the Devil, and every time I'd see one of these cards that had this strong interpretation, I was laughing out loud, and people started looking at me, and I thought, well, I guess I'm buying a tarot deck today. And I actually have multiple copies of it because it's you talked about making a connection with the deck. her symbolism and her approach to all of that speaks so directly to me. And so I love to read with that deck. I love to do magic with that deck. I still work a lot with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck because it's Texas, and Robin Wood's deck is a little too naked for some people, right? But I love it, and so for me, it's how those cards hit and how sometimes they hit in ways I don't expect. Like you were talking about, I finally hit that point doing things where I went, whatever comes now is what it is. And I quit trying to be right. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big one. You got to quit trying to be right.
Yes. Yes.
Because this isn't about you.
Nope.
Yeah, that's true.
So how is that for a non-answer to your question?
It's fantastic.
All right. And with that, we need to go to a commercial, and we will be right back with Witch Hat Chats. Stay tuned. Anybody can tell you what is on a tarot or oracle card. What matters is seeing beyond what others may not be able to see and help the client to uncover what lies in the mist. What do readings from Moonlight Potions and Charms do? Wednesday, I did this ancestor reading, and it was an amazing reading. And it was a detailed reading. And I remember talking to this customer's ancestors, and it was so delightful. And he wanted some questions to be answered about the magic in his family because he didn't know. And his family was mostly like most of our families are. You know how everything is like hush hush when it comes to the magic in his family. And he wanted to know, who can he actually talk to about the history of the magic in his family? And I was able to give him specifically who he can go to talk to about that. What particular deity he can actually go to be able to help him with this. And it was just an amazing reading, and talking to his ancestors, they were such a delight, and they told me so much about this customer. It was just an absolutely wonderful reading for him, and I was just so happy to be able to give him this wonderful reading. It's really amazing to be able to give people these readings, these products that's really going to help them, and be able to give back to the community, because this is what Moonlight Potions and Charms is about. We want to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. That is what we are all about. It's to help you to do that. Book now and allow our wonderful staff to take care of your spiritual reading needs. And there is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Have you heard? The King of the Crossroads, Papa Legba, has graciously opened the roads, paving the way for the Papa Legba Altar on the Go to be nominated as Outstanding Product of the Year in the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Makes Papa Legba Altar on the Go stand out? Complete traveling altar kits. Everything you need for sacred space is right at your fingertips, all neatly arranged in a mystical painter's pail. And it's compact and convenient. A perfect, powerful temporary altar, whether you're a modern nomad, a military soul on the move, or a wanderlust-stricken traveler. It also has additional space for the personal touch. As customization is a key to your spiritual journey, the Papa Legba Altar on the Go leaves room for you to infuse your unique energy. Moonlight Potions and Charms and Papa Legba invites you to join the spellbinding spectacle at the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Cast your vote for the Papa Legba on the Go as the outstanding product of the year. Your support fuels the magic. Go to https://rb.gy/PC3F11 to cast your vote. Remember, your altar is not just a space, it's a step in your magical journey. Explore the depths of your inner self by visiting Moonlight Potions and Charms at mpcmagic.com. Be ready to embrace the power of your own magic. Have you wondered what spirituality is? Spirituality is limitless, as it does not contain any boundaries on beliefs or practices. Spirituality's most important component is personal experience and allows one to explore it freely. Evermoving We Rise is a spiritual moving tradition, as our name is our lifestyle, because we are persistently rising and moving forward. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We'll teach you to become friends with your shadow, emerge your authentic self, and give you time and space to develop your own spirituality. And when situations bump back, you'll have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Visit us on our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box.
And welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. I am Saul Ravencraft. I am here with Miss Nikki Kirby and our fantastic guest, Lilith Dorsey. She's got a book about tarot. She's got a lot of books, but the latest one is about tarot. And we are doing the deep dive and all that stuff. Is tarot the key divination tool that you work with, or do you have some other tools that you'd like to call in?
I mean, I use a combination for my clients, not just tarot cards. I'll use a pendulum, I'll use dowsing rods. Obviously I have some kind of mediumship going on there as well, and it's sort of a combination of all of those together. But I talk about in the book, I always recommend people have a good yes/no, which you can do easily with tarot cards. Or if you feel more comfortable with a pendulum or something, you can do that. I also do palm readings. We used to call them a $5 hand job. But that's where we're at.
Well, at least you don't do them in the alley. That's a good thing.
Speak for yourself.
We're going to drag you into the alley and we're going to do this palm thing.
That's right.
So New Orleans, don't you know that?
Yeah, right. We call
it all happens in the alley. That's right.
Yeah.
So do you find the different tools have different strengths or different contexts? Why do you decide one tool for another?
I think yes or no, because that's so definitive. Like every answer really is yes or no, right? Or, I mean, you can get a pendulum or dowsing rods or whatever yes, no you're using to give you a I don't know or a maybe or a try again later. But it's much more concrete because it's a binary, right? There's two choices, basically. And cards, they're a lot more nuanced. There's a lot more things you can learn from the cards. There's a lot more, I think, discovery that can happen with the cards. So in that way, I think it's more effective or successful or helpful for people who are getting a reading because they understand why it's going well or why it's not going well or what they need to do in order to help themselves change it and make it a more positive situation for them. And I think that gives them more understanding and it gives the reader better tools to help them really discover what they need to know.
Cards are good storytellers.
Yeah, they are. And I think a lot of people do think of them as a story, right? We all know people that read with the deck or all the cards in the deck as a story, the hero's journey, going back to Campbell and the power of myth and things like that, or Castaneda. It's something where we're the hero in our own story, and how is that going to play out? Am I going to ride my chariot to the, temperance card, or am I going to ride my chariot to the judgment card? Like, both of those things mean different things to different people. And the way the cards are laid out and what story they're telling you and what story you're getting out of it and sharing with the seeker or the client is really where it's at.
So, do you recommend for people who are just beginning to learn how to read the tarot, to memorize the meanings, or to literally just look at the art and to determine what the meanings are for themselves?
We have a saying in Spanish, why not both? Porque no los dos. So I think that, sure, you're going to be influenced by the imagery. You're going to want to sort of walk through those cards. And this is something that Dorothy Morrison talks about in the quotes she gave me for my book, but how each one really is a meditation in and of itself. And each of the cards in my book has its own meditation. So I think you need to understand what that looks like in your particular deck of cards, but you also should not necessarily memorize the meanings, but be familiar with them. Especially, as I mentioned, doing a daily draw is a good practice that, oh, okay, well, every time I get the 3 of Cups, it means there's going to be a party. Or every time I get the 2 of Cups, it's you, Nikki, you're talking about love spells. I got all these cups on the brain. So that means it's going to be a proposal. So getting an understanding of the basics of what the cards can mean. It doesn't necessarily, you don't have to sit there with a book and memorize it in your head, but getting familiar with what they are. And a lot of times, the imagery will help you.
Yeah, it's just like I have the hoodoo deck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little different the way that they explain things. Like,
Sure.
With the Fool in the hoodoo deck, they call it the free man. And it's mindset, the way that they explain it.
Sure.
And I really like the way that they explain it, because they don't really call him a fool. They say that he knows where he comes from. And they know that he's going into a new journey, into a new path that he doesn't understand, and that he is willing to take this path. And he understands that he's going to make mistakes. So technically, he's not a fool. But in a way, he is, because he's going to make mistakes. And so it's the question, being a free man, is he actually a fool, or is he not? It's like that question, because he's willing to take this leap because he has already completed one part of his journey, and he's willing to start another part of his journey. And it's just the way that they write each and every one of those. And it just makes you think of a whole new way. And so as I've had this thing for 2 years, and I'm still learning new things each time. And then when I take the card into my hand and I'm talking, to my ancestors, to my spirits with this. And I'm looking at these cards. It's still really, God, it just, the connections and what you get from the cards really just mind blows me about it. So yeah, it's just so different versus my other deck, which is the well, actually I have so many decks. Unlike everybody else, you know, I'm like, I
Yes.
want to buy another deck, and then here comes this deck saying, "Oh, that's nice." My first deck was the Dragon Tarot, the original one in 1995, I think, or 94. And they just recently have brought that back. And I picked it up because it had dragons, and I love dragons. And it's a beautiful, beautiful deck. And I've had it ever since. And I mean, you can tell by the outside cover and everything else that I've had. And that deck, everything, dragon decks and the regular other decks are so different when they come to interpretation. Like, for example, the tower. Most people think, oh my God, I got the tower and everything's going to go to hell. You know, everything's going to go to hell. I need to pack my stuff up. I need to run, blah, blah, blah. In a dragon deck, if you get it, all it says is you just need to make sure your foundation is stable. That's all it says. Because if your foundation is stable, you're good. Just check your foundation, make sure that all the cracks are repaired, everything's good. But if there's a crack there and you don't fix it, guess what? It's going to come down. But if your crack's good, you got it. No big deal. So there's not really something to panic about. So I like that kind of thinking a little bit, because it doesn't send you into immediate panic. Because I kind of like that.
Well, panic never helps anything, so
Right.
that's helpful. And it makes sense to me because I feel like dragons have a different relationship to that kind of tower energy anyway, right? Like you've got this dragon that has a different sort of commanding, destructive energy sometimes, but also positive and really oriented in a different way. So yeah, I like that. I like that.
I love that deck. That's my favorite. Of course, that's my favorite deck. But it's like when you get all these decks, and I try to learn, what was the person thinking and stuff. So yeah, I really look forward to. When's your book coming out?
Right now, the first week in July. So soon.
So what was your first deck? I'm curious.
My first deck was probably the Toth deck, because my mother had like a hardcover copy. I hope nobody steals it, of the Toth deck. And then the actual, she would let me look at them and check them out and stuff like that. And then the first one that she gave me when I was a teenager was the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. That was back in the day when I was that age. There was not that many decks available. I know it's hard for some people to understand right now, but there was not that many decks. You didn't have 100 different decks. I'm New York City, so I went to Magickal Child. A lot of people know about the history and the legend of that place, and they only had maybe 5 or 6 decks, and a lot of them were expensive. So the Rider-Waite-Smith was the cheapest one I could afford when I was a teenager. You know what it's like to be a kid, so that was that. And yeah, but now you're right, I have a whole bunch now. Not so much that I buy them, but people send them to me to review and things like that. And the new book actually has illustrations from, I think, 6 different decks. And just for the reason that you're talking about, Nikki, that each deck is going to give you its own special, unique flavor. And I wanted to just sort of allow people to access different sets of images and understand that it's not just the way the Toth is going to look, or it's not just the way the Rider-Waite-Smith is going to look, which are both in there. But there's other decks as well, more multicultural decks, more inclusive decks, that I think is really important.
Yeah, because now they're just beginning to make them, you know, other ones. And because for a long time you couldn't find any.
No, it was hard. It was hard back then to get decks, you know, and yeah, now Rider-Waite-Smith is in the public domain and everybody's got a tarot deck. hundreds of them out there. It's crazy.
It is, and I really do like that. I like people being inclusive, and I want to make sure that their culture is represented, you know, properly and everything. It's nice. It's really
it is nice. It is nice. I mentioned Courtney Alexander is in my new book. Courtney Alexander is the creator of the Dust to Onyx Tarot, which was the first fat, Black, queer, inclusive tarot deck out there. And they're a lovely person. They stayed with me one time. It was a hoot. And I'm just so glad that I can include those kinds of things. You know, I also include the Santa Muerte deck. Again, I think this is something that a lot of people have a connection to, but we didn't really, you know, as one of the brand new, you know, quote unquote narco saints, I think we didn't really have as much stuff about Santa Muerte 10, 20, 30 years ago. And now they're all over the place. So I'm all for the bony lady and that kind of thing. And I wanted to include it in the book.
awesome. So where can our people find you?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I'm on social media, Lilith Dorsey, Facebook, author page. I'm X, right? Like formerly Twitter. The social media formerly is Twitter. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Insta. I'm on all of those things. They can find me on my website, lilithdorsey.com. They can check out my blog, Voodoo Universe, which is, I think, over 700 blog posts at this time on divination and voodoo and recipes and plants and all of those things. And yeah, I would love to hear from anybody who wants to reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It was a ball.
It was a blast. All right. Well, that's all for our show today. So embrace your power, support your community, and keep your fuzzy babies, your family, friends, and yourself safe, and have an absolute magical week.
I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk. Nikki coming with that black stone. I agree, Evermoving We Rise. Life and soul will the beautiful mind. I give you blessings under moonlight. I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock.